together? That is Johannes Brahms, one of the three Bs, Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms. So today's writing lesson is the art of asking questions. I'm working on three big writing projects right now: a book on one important aspect of 18th century intellectual history. I'm working on a biography of a 20th century artist, a refugee from Hitler's Germany. And I'm working on a U.S. Supreme Court brief. Those are three very different genres. But you know, the techniques involved are very much the same. You ask questions, pertinent questions, and you embark on a quest to find the best possible answer to those questions. Asking questions is also a way, ultimately, of having a kind of conversation with your readers. This all reminds me of my own friend and mentor, the great Professor Charles Alan Wright, University of Texas Law School. This is Professor Wright. He and I are together here in the mid-1990s. What a wonderful friend and scholar he was. His motto was that the mark of a genuine scholar is never to leave an answerable question unanswered. So a genuine scholar never just sits idly by while an answerable question goes unanswered. And he wrote two frequently cited books. One is The Law of Federal Courts, wonderful book, and wonderfully readable book. He was just a wonderful, he had a great, simple, straightforward, no-nonsense style. The other is, this is a multi-volume set, Federal Practice and Procedure, over 50 volumes. And I thought I would just read to you a little bit of what he wrote. I just opened this randomly a moment ago, page 496. And he's talking about the jurisprudence of labels. And you can just begin reading almost anywhere, and Professor Wright is speaking directly to you. So here he is, in the middle of 496. Labels are not bad things in the law if they are understood for what they are, a shorthand way of expressing the result of a more complicated reasoning process. Labels become treacherous and misleading if they are applied as a substitute for reasoning. And he goes on to explain the trouble with the jurisprudence of labels in one particular field of law. Very typical of Professor Wright. So you're not a writer. See, he didn't sit down and say, let me write down everything I know about federal courts, the law of federal courts. You're not a writer because you have something to say, as much as because you know how to bring about thoughts by asking questions and finding good answers. These thoughts never would have occurred to you if you hadn't asked the questions. You're not drawing on a reservoir of knowledge as much as you're engaging in an activity that brings about knowledge, a whole succession of unforeseen arguments, essays, letters, even articles, stories, and plays. My own book, big 1,000-page book on English usage. It's called Garner's Modern English Usage. I didn't just sit down and write down everything I know about the English language. It's a whole series of particular questions addressed and answered. For example, Mr. and Mrs. Why in American English do we put a period after Mr. and Mrs., but in British English you don't? And should there be a period after Ms.? And is it considered an abbreviation? And is the period the reason for the abbreviation? These are a whole series of questions that prompted a very short entry in Garner's Modern English Usage. Here's the entry in full. Mr., Mrs., Ms. In American English, the first two terms are considered abbreviations. So they have a period at the end. Ms. originated in the 1950s as a blend of Mrs. and Miss. American dictionaries do not define Ms. as an abbreviation or contraction, but it is written with a period anyway to conform to the style of Mr. and Mrs. Because contracted abbreviations with letters deleted from the middle of the word don't take a period in British English, isn't that interesting? Because contracted abbreviations with letters deleted from the middle of the word don't take a period in British English, British writers use these three forms without a period. Mr. Whitaker, no period after the R. Mrs. Kerr, no period after the S. Ms. Denning, no period after the S. It's a matter of asking questions and finding good, reliable answers. And even if you're writing dialogue in a short story, what would this person say in this circumstance? You've created a situation, a circumstance probably with some level of tension. What would this person say? How would this person react? You're provoking thoughts. We hope good thoughts that lead to good writing. Remember, fall in love with language. It will always love you back. Good to see you. Take care.